without further ado, we'll hear briefly from Ryan about his experience being on the sharp end of the needle, living out in his community, at home, supposedly in a free country. So, real brave of him to come here and speak out about it. Ryan, big round of applause for Ryan.
Okay, well, my name is Ryan, and I am from Australia. And the way we do it there is very similar to the way it's done in Canada, as Eric briefly sort of elucidated. And basically, a bit of background. I haven't committed any crimes. I'm not a criminal. I am somebody who has experienced extreme states of overwhelm and distress during periods in my life, which brought the attention of the state to me, and my family sought help for me the only way that they had been told all their lives. That if this is the world we live in, where we're all told people who act a certain way have a medical problem, right? Despite the fact that here I am, and I've never been subject to any genetic testing or neurobiological testing of any kind, yet I've lost maybe 7 years of my life to this system, and I don't know of any psychiatrist in the world who uses any kind of diagnostic biotechnology in the process of diagnosis. The way it works, it's all a checklist of behaviours, and if your behaviour or thought or feeling is on that checklist, then the box will be ticked, and you're ticking off boxes, you get a label. You'll be labelled schizophrenic, you'll be labelled bipolar, you'll be labelled major depressive, you'll be labelled OCD, ADHD, whatever. Back in the 70s, they used to label gay people with sexual orientation disorder. That was a real psychiatric official label from down on high from psychiatry, until it was voted out due to political pressure and some gay psychiatrists, and So basically, in psychiatry, you can have behaviours and thoughts and feelings that in the aggregate are considered a disease 1 year, and in the next year they're not considered a disease anymore. And you don't see that in cardiology, you don't see that in endocrinology, you don't see real doctors suddenly deciding, voting together overnight that heart disease or kidney disease is no longer a disease. But you do see that kind of fluid diagnostic evolution and devolution in psychiatry, right? So I've been given labels like serious mental illness, psychotic, schizophrenic, bipolar, probably an eating disorder. I mean, you could just pile it on, right? So there were crisis situations where I was very distressed and overwhelmed. For instance, in the days in the aftermath of witnessing the death of a loved one in my family, I had my grief and my overwhelm and my confusion around my own mortality in the days following that, medicalised by the system in Australia. In Australia, we don't have any judicial oversight of coercive psychiatry at all. You will not be brought before a judge after 72-hour hold or anything like that. A psychiatrist, one psychiatrist, not two psychiatrists, no right to a second opinion. Whatever psychiatrist happens to be working that day when you're dragged to the facility. I don't call it a hospital, because hospitals are for people with demonstrable bodily diseases. Right? And this is the thing, like, the people think there's nothing more. If you talk about wanting help for a problem in your life, or a distressing thing, that's kind of like something that you'd like a choice in. You're going to get a nice, maybe you want some talk therapy. Maybe you'd like to read some books. Maybe religion would be your answer. Well, we live in a world where the state has decided that being tranquilized by force, by violent, brutal force, is the solution to problematic people, homeless people, confused maybe having a conversation with themselves. You know, there's a very widespread public support for laws that are just going to have them rounded up like dogs and shot up with tranquilizer drugs. And that's the reality of forced drugging outside the walls of a psychiatric facility, right? So I spent a bit of time as a detainee inside the facility. I was in solitary confinement. I was brutally, violently, forcibly drugged, stripped naked, left in solitary confinement. Now remember, I'm not a criminal. I was, what would you know, some people might say, adjudicated to be a danger to myself or others, but that adjudication is merely the assertion by one psychiatrist, right? If you're a member of the powerful profession, you're going to say this man is dangerous to himself, then you're done. It's hearsay is admissible, right? So I think my family said something like, Ryan said he wanted to go to the river where his grandfather had recently had his ashes scattered, and he wanted to be, quote, be with his grandfather. And that was interpreted as, I wanted to drown myself. Now, I have never attempted suicide. I don't want to die, right? But in a system like this, and it occurs in the 72-hour holds here in the United States, any hearsay is admissible, right? Because you've got family members saying, oh, he said something confusing, she said something, I'm not quite sure what she meant, but I think, you know, she's a danger to herself or others, right? Now, if we really believe that the proper function of the state is to protect people from themselves, then shouldn't we be handcuffing every smoker in the world? I mean, when you do that, you're going to have some of the smokers are going to say, gee, thank you, state, I didn't get lung cancer. And then the other half are going to say, well, are you kidding me? I didn't like these handcuffs. I want my freedom. So this is what you find with coercive psychiatry, right? When you have a policy in place of coercive psychiatry, particularly this drugging in the community, home forced drugging, you have some people that say, wow, you know, I really was trying to kill myself, and the fact that I was turned into a tranquilized zombie stopped me killing myself, so thank you. I got another chance at life. But what they do not stop to consider is that that perceived benefit, that perceived good, came at the expense of other people that they will never meet across the other side of the city who had to have their lives destroyed in order for that benefit to be conferred. So quality of life is being transferred from one group of people to the other using violent force. And I say to these people, where you say, oh, we can't just let these people kill themselves, right? I was like, okay. That's all very well for the sort of lay person that's never been involved with it, but it's quite a difficult situation when you're the one who had to lose years of your life and go through torture just so somebody could rely on that quote-unquote safety net of the commitment laws, right? And a lot of parents of people, of young adult children who've been labelled, remember, without any biological tests, schizophrenic or bipolar or whatever, they love to have this, parents love to have this safety net, a place to quickly, like I call it rapid rights removal, right? They don't want their child locked up in the prison or the jail. They don't want to wait until they commit a crime or whatever, but they do want them out of their face. They want them in a, quote, safe place. And they want them to take the drugs, you know, because they literally believe that their children have a brain disease, despite the fact that no physician has ever examined their brain. Now, that's a very strange kind of world we live in, but that's the case. Apparently, a psychiatrist sitting 6-8 feet away from me behind a desk, who doesn't come near me with so much as a stethoscope, can diagnose brain disease in the most advanced organ in the known universe that created all the civilization you see around us today, just by looking at me and listening to what I say and what I do.
Literally.
Yeah, well, it's a faith-based scientism, a faith-based kind of quack pseudo-religion, and I don't subscribe to it. But I do live in a world where it is the state religion, where I can be forced to have drugs in my body. And let me wind this up by saying, what's the experience like of being at home when the walls of my own skull are now a prison cell? Well, it's like the most diabolical form of social control and torture that humankind has yet devised, short of the death penalty. You know, you've got instances of the state altering bodies, right? You know, I'm not a criminal. The state can't alter my body. If I commit a crime, they can put a bullet in my chest. Or if I get sentenced to the death, I can have a lethal injection. We're talking about, in Australia, just alone, tens of thousands of innocent people, and before too long, hundreds of thousands of innocent people in the United States, basically, who are just, they've had their humanity, their personhood stripped away. Once you've got the label, shoot you up with drugs, keep you tranquilized like a zombie, and basically, if I had to die young, like through an accident or just some happenstance, during the years that I was on psych drugs, we talk about this ending and us recovering and having a happy life or whatever. Basically, I just think, oh my God, all that time that they wasted, they treat my body like a toxic waste dump. It's just the indignity of it, the inhumanity of it. I mean, I know that the pushers of these policies literally believe that we don't know what's good for us and that they're going to help. But when we say no, and there's oftentimes, I remember in solitary confinement at the psychiatric facility, the word you would hear most often was screams of no. No, exclamation mark. Right? Now apparently that is a symptom of our brain disease. No. No doesn't mean no. No means brain disease. It's a funny brain disease that makes people say no when the violence is being initiated against them. Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, and the way it works here for you, anyone as a law student, is that there's no judicial oversight, so you'll never be brought before a judge. Psychiatrists, when they release you from the facility, do so on the condition that you report to have your bloodstream loaded up with tranquilizers every couple of weeks, right? And they can just sign a piece of paper, and possibly within maybe 3 months, you can have the right to be brought before a kind of separate tribunal, which is more of a kangaroo court, because it's not, they have closed hearings, you know, what do they call that, in camera, closed hearings, and in Australia, 0.5% of these hearings is anybody represented by legal counsel. That's legal aid, state-paid lawyers or anything, right? Basically, it's just, you front up, your psychiatrist who owns you, who owns your body, right, is there, and he'll say, Ryan still believes this, Ryan's still saying this, Ryan doesn't believe he has a brain disease, despite the fact that I believe he does, even though I've never examined his brain, but that's how I make my prestige in living in society, and I'd probably become psychotic if I admitted the fraud that I chose to study at college called psychiatry, but yeah, you know, I mean, you know, and basically you can be indefinitely, repeatedly put on these things at this tribunal. I know a man in Melbourne who's been on one for 7 years straight. That's 7 years, that's 3,000 days. Can you imagine? 3,000 days, 24 hours a day, 60 minutes in a day, sleeping, waking, in this tranquilized state, every heartbeat of this innocent man's life, completely and utterly tranquilized. You know, it's like an absolute demolition of everything that should be sanctified about what makes us human. There is no more intimate part of the body than our brain. Right? This is the temple, this is the cathedral, as David said, and to think that we so lightly give the bodies of our brothers and sisters, our neighbours, away to the state for trashing is truly the most disgusting and traumatizing realization of my life. And I still struggle every single day of my life to comprehend how can this be. And I understand it. I understand it's because everybody has got a very firmly held belief that if a psychiatrist has slapped a label on your forehead, that you've got a brain disease. Well, I think it's high time that people started demanding. I mean, is it unreasonable for me to say, can I have a little bit of evidence that my biology is diseased before you freaking take it away from me? You know? Is that unreasonable? Is that unreasonable? And so it just continues and continues, and I've got a friend who's a female in my town, and she just got off a CTO earlier this year. Now, she was a female, She was forced to turn up, and of course it'd be a male nurse. And where they put the injection is in the buttock, and she was forced to disrobe. I mean, it's forced nakedness, indignity. She didn't have a period. It was like artificial menopause from these drugs, and just unbelievable. She started lactating, all these effects. I don't call them side effects, because regardless of what effects psychiatry would like to push to the side, these are effects of the drugs, and the prime intended and desired effect of any psychiatric drug is tranquilization, and the general kind of effect, they want people to believe that this guesswork pharmacology shoved into the unexamined biology is somehow assisting human distress. But we know the state can't even, if you wanted a loving home-cooked meal, would you ask the state for it? No, you'd get an airdrop from the UN with some crap wrapped in paper, right? If you get some school lunches, if you wanted healthcare from the state can put a stent in your heart. The state can stitch you up in an emergency. But can the state provide emotional care and help for people in distress? When you have a systematized, industrialized production line of people coming out of the colleges that have just been mainlining these textbooks full of mythology, you can't expect anything to happen other than lives to be destroyed. And that's what's happening. And that is what's happening.
Thank you, Ryan.